Wales Planning Portal on contract to the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment in Sydney. Had a number of different roles during this contract. Started out as a senior business analyst and ended up managing the business analysis services team. So at the beginning of this one, I came on when they were putting together the tender to go out for the actual portal. So I helped them finalise all the tender documentation. We worked through the evaluation of the different tender responses, and then I also worked very closely with the chosen vendor in the development of the first implementation of the portal. So I was there from day one all the way through to implementation and delivery of the very first portal being online. During this whole process, I brought together a team of probably six BAs. They were all on the project, but they reported to different people, and there was no communication between these different people that they reported to. So the BAs were actually working in silos. So we had instances where a couple of BAs were working on the same deliverable and didn't know it. We also had a situation where some of the BAs were working on phase 3 when we were still working on implementing phase 2. So when I brought all these BAs together and created the team, the first thing I did was make sure that we were all working on the same thing, worked out their strengths, assigned the different work to them. We stopped working on phase 3 so that we can concentrate on getting phase 2 sorted out. During the development and implementation of the first version of the portal, I worked very closely with the test manager and also the vendor to make sure that the functionality was being delivered according to requirements, and that the vendor was receiving the requirements in time to be able to do the development to deliver as required. The complication we had was that the department was following a waterfall project management methodology, and the vendor was agile. So we had to come up with a wagile way of working. I also managed and worked closely with our UI UX developer that we had on our team, and coming up with the design and layout for the portal, and also for coming up with the information architecture for the portal as well. So the structure of the information and how it was displayed, and the menus and how many levels down, whether we're going to have the information replicated, which we didn't, because you just don't replicate data. You have it in one spot and you call it out. And we also worked closely with the people looking after the content and who had access to the content management system behind the portal, and updating of the content and coming up with the whole content review and update process. During this time, they also wanted to look at whether it was possible to have online development applications. At the time, there were 152 different councils, and each council was doing the development applications their own way, so none of them were consistent. In order to work out whether it was possible to have one process for doing these, I went back to the legislation, and from that I mapped out the development application process. Then we went to a number of different councils, which represented about 10% of the councils. So and ranged from very large to really, really small and everything in between. So we went and did some current state process mapping of their development applications, and then I put all of those through the legislation-based process and worked out whether there were consistency in there. And the good thing was that there was, so it worked out that we could have one process that all of them would be able to use. Some of them were gathering a little bit extra information than was legislative required, but they were outliers. On the whole, all of them were picking up the key information in the process. They were just doing it in different orders and different methods. So we were able to standardize that. So that piece of analysis led to the decision to go ahead and the approval and funding to go ahead with online development applications. So then we put the BA team were tasked with writing all of the business requirements and the functional requirements for online development applications. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell button and snap the QR code to download my CV.